Benchmarking is learning from the experience of others, and it's not just learning from others, it's applying that knowledge, which is important. So it's not just finding out what the difference is, it's really delving into that information, talking to people who are responsible for those best practices, finding out what they're doing differently, and then applying them. Next slide, please. There are two main types of benchmarking. One is called informal benchmarking, and one is called formal benchmarking. Informal benchmarking is something that we all do, whether we're conscious of it or not. Attending, the conference today is a type of informal benchmarking where you'll be getting new knowledge based on, learning better practices or approaches that perhaps you've been unfamiliar about before. You can also learn through networking, and more, as I've said, you learn through digital tech, and also through Zoom calls now, which you can contact people from anywhere around the world and speak to them about what they do in their jobs, responsible for. Next slide, please. But there is also formal benchmarking where you plan, your particular approach of how you're going to learn. And there are two main types of that. One is called performance benchmarking, which is comparing performance. So it could be comparing financial performance, environmental performance, or as I've said before, it could be comparing the performance of nations in terms of how they're addressing the COVID pandemic and looking at those COVID dashboards. Performance benchmarking, though, doesn't provide solutions. It doesn't tell you what you need to do to improve. And so this is where the power of best practice benchmarking comes in. And this is where you have specific methodologies designed to help you to understand why another country perhaps is performing better in terms of addressing the COVID pandemic than others. The methodology shown here is called the Trade Best Practice Benchmarking Methodology, a very systematic approach where, first of all, you identify what challenge you face and develop a terms of reference for the project. You then review your current situation, look at your processes and your current performance, and then you search for best practices, therefore trying to acquire new information, new learning from other organizations. You deploy that learning, and then you evaluate your outcomes.